Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, a $1.4 billion project hits a major snag. We preview the Indiana Conference for Women. The Hamilton County Humane Society considers expansion plans. Indy has a new option for virtual vet visits. We get an update on Indiana's Early College Promise program. Indiana State University puts a focus on athletics, and our weekly panel of insiders takes on the top stories of the week. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. The $1.4 billion redevelopment of the former GM stamping plant in downtown Indianapolis has hit a major hurdle. Indy-based Ambrose Property Group has announced a shift in focus and is selling its mixed-use and office developments, including the Waterside project. Ambrose Vice President Molly Simone Jeffers and Valley Neighborhood Association President Jay Napoleon joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick with an update.
Molly, I'll start with you. It was kind of to a lot of people, a surprise news. A lot of focus has been put on the Waterside project, $1.4 billion project at the old GM stamping plant site. Would take development across the river. You know, a lot of implications there. Why the move to say you're not going to do that project?
Thanks, Gary. Well, you know, the vision for Waterside has always been to transform this massive plot of land in a very important part of our city. Waterside connects downtown Indianapolis to our near west neighborhoods and seamlessly integrates into its surrounding communities. And from day one, you know, our mindset has been kind of a team approach and a collaborative spirit, and engagement with our neighbors and communities has happened since the very beginning. And so I've, you know, talked to Jay and Renee from the Valley since day one, and together with the Valley, West Indy, CICF, and many others, we've brought up many conversations around placemaking, around designing for equity and inclusion and developing with the neighborhood versus to the neighborhood. So that's been at the forefront of our process from the beginning and remains today.
But you have, in terms of a change in your business model, is that essentially what's behind this?
Absolutely, yes. We've decided to shift towards a focus on e-commerce and industrial development.
With that, the property, you're putting the property up for sale. Your contention is that the project isn't being scrapped. How do you explain?
Absolutely. Some have said, you know, that Ambrose is scrapping or abandoning Waterside, and that just couldn't be further from the truth. Our vision and our focus remains the same as it was when we announced it a year ago, that we want a vibrant urban mixed-use development that adds vibrancy to this neighborhood and amenities to this community, and connects people and places. And that focus and vision is very much alive today, and we all want to see Waterside realized.
Yeah, Jay, the Valley Neighborhood Association, you represent several hundred homes there, homeowners in that area, so potential big impact there. What's your position on where things are and where you'd like to see things go now?
For us, the dream remains the same. The vision remains the same of a mixed-use, mixed-income neighborhood that becomes an extension of downtown Indianapolis, blends into my neighborhood seamlessly, creates a new downtown district. It's that important, not just for my little neighborhood, but for the city at large.
Can that happen now? Are you, there's a lot of optimism, momentum behind it. Are you still optimistic that can happen?
We're very optimistic. Everyone who looks at that site, when they go to the location, they see the geography of it, the proximity to downtown. Everyone comes away with the same idea. This is a once-in-a-generation, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we have to get right.
All right, Mayor Hogsett's office, there are some legal ramifications too in this. The mayor's office issued a statement to us this week in terms of the city's position, and there was the threat of using eminent domain to take back that property. Certainly Ambrose has pushed back at that. Molly, as you look at where things are, we see the statement from the mayor's office there expressing some optimism that a productive outcome can happen. What's the position of Ambrose?
You know, I think to Jay's point, the important thing to keep in mind here is that there's been an articulated, identified, and adopted vision that is shared by all parties, that is shared by the neighborhood and Ambrose and the collective city. And that's something to celebrate. That's something that we're proud of. And again, our vision and focus remains the same, that Waterside is realized and is a place for everybody to enjoy.
What's been the interest since the announcement from interested parties in the property? You've access JLL to sell the property? What's been the interest?
There's been a ton of interest in Waterside from all angles from day one, and again on September 27th when we made the announcement. Interest, hugely across the nation.
Okay, we'll follow this story. We appreciate you both coming on. Molly Simone Jeffers from Ambrose, also Jay Napoleon from the Valley Neighborhood Association. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Still to come, the Hamilton County Humane Society looks for ways to grow, and telemedicine goes to the dogs. But first, Indiana First Lady Janet Holcomb will serve as chair for this year's Indiana Conference for Women. Nearly 2,000 people are expected to attend the 9th annual conference set for next month in Indianapolis. Conference co-founder Billy Dragoo Garcia and executive director Pam Dyer came in studio for a preview.
Okay, I can't believe 9 years. I can remember the first year almost like it was yesterday, Billy. Talk about creating this, because the first year was a big hit. It has grown substantially since then, but talk about the whole idea behind the Indiana Conference for Women.
Well, Deborah Collins Stevens, my other co-founder, and I wanted to build an ecosystem for women to create, different careers and a path to create companies. And also it's grown into this strategic focused leadership for women to have a path forward in their careers. And so we're just thrilled. And now we are, it's transformed into our students in high school and college. And so we have a lot of students coming this year as well. But our passion is to create this conference, the largest in the Midwest right now, to provide these opportunities for our women in our state. Yeah. And I think that this is the institutional knowledge that all the authors and our speakers bringing in is unfounded anywhere else in a conference.
Touch briefly, because there are several, but some high-profile speakers are going to be at this year's event.
Well, we have Rachel Ray.
Right.
We have Dr. Tara Trent, which is renowned, and now they have a statue of her in New York, and she's written all kinds of books. And we have our girl sisters.
Yeah.
Do you remember Mickey that was here a few years ago?
Sure.
And her sister now is coming, and they have both amazing stories and books out. And then their mother-in-law, which you've met several times, Sam Horn,
yep,
a renowned author, is coming back.
Big lineup, as always. And Pam, Billy alluded to this, but students are involved on a Codalicious, which is a great company here in Indiana. Talk about that connection and how students and young women and girls are getting engaged and involved.
Well, Gary, in their 9th year, we're really super excited because we now have 3 students between the ages of 10 and 14 that are going to be student reporters. And this is the first time we've had students that young in the conference, and they'll actually have access to all the speakers. And it's great because for me, we really are multi-generational now. We're starting at age 10 instead of age 18 or 20 and going all the way to 70 plus. So I'm thrilled.
Oh, as you just moved into your leadership role in the organization a couple of months ago, as you look to kind of your vision for the event, 2,000 plus people are going to be at this year's event, which will be a packed house. Your vision?
It's super exciting because the conference that Billy and Deborah have built over the years has grown by 20% every single year. And we did that again this year, so we're going to be hitting over 2,000 attendees.
And I want to mention that there is just a small group of us that put this conference together, but they are our voice. And I give credit to all the people, our board of directors, our advisors that make this happen. And we all work very hard behind the scenes to pull this together. But I give a credit to all those folks that are involved, and they're a voice of our conference.
Yeah, and the size is big. The speakers, the high-profile speakers, get the attention. But this really is about networking and education and understanding and those types of connections that have been made over the years.
Well, let's take a lady that met Arianna Huffington 3 years ago, or I think it was 2 years, I can't remember. She's now working at, she sold Huffington Post, and now she has Thrive, and she had her book Sleep. She's now working for Arianna Huffington across the country.
Wow.
And there's another case study. Go ahead.
One of our board members, Melissa St. John, has a conference attendee that is now met her at the conference and now working for relocation strategies.
Indiana Conference, we're out of time. We're going to revisit this, I know, in future weeks. November 7 is the event, the Indiana Conference for Women, downtown, the Indiana Convention Center, major event. Pam Dyer, also Billy Dragoo Garcia. Thank you both.
Thank you, Gary.
Later in the podcast, telemedicine for your pet and a graduation update from Indiana's Commissioner for Higher Education. But now, the Hamilton County Humane Society has operated out of its current facility since 2006. The organization says it needs to expand, but there's no space or money to grow in that building. CEO Rebecca Stevens and Board Chair Kim Ebert joined us to talk about future plans.
Talk about, I think, an important issue. First of all, the Humane Society, the facility, has really been under stress for a long time. Talk about the demand and the conditions of the facility and the need for this new facility.
Well, we moved into the current facility in October of 2006, and it's a county-owned property. It was designed by the county, and it's designed to be, I think, essentially an animal control facility. Our organization is a no-kill organization. That is our philosophy.
Talk about what that means and open admission too, right?
Right. So no-kill, the philosophy that we embrace is that every single animal that comes through our doors deserves the chance to live, love, and be loved, regardless of their breed, age, disability, special medical needs, time, or space. So that is really what no-kill means. To be able to accomplish that as an open admission facility, which means we're also the municipal shelter for Hamilton County. We're the Humane Society, and all animals coming from law enforcement, strays, hit by car, you name it, we get it. So to do that is incredibly difficult and something we're very proud of.
Yeah, and again, been bursting at the seams in that facility. Kim, I mentioned going in, the Hamilton County continues to be such a growing population. And I know people have talked about too the reflection on a community that is in focus around the country. To have a facility that's not up to par kind of is a reflection on the community.
Yeah, our objective is really to create a state-of-the-art facility that's reflective of the success of Hamilton County and the city of Fishers. And so as a part of our overall objective, that's what we've had our eye on, is not just to go halfway, but to try to really have a national quality state-of-the-art facility.
It's been a long time coming, a lot of planning, a lot of fundraising, and I know you're prepared to announce some major news in the fundraising campaign.
I know this is officially the public phase launch of our capital campaign, and we're happy to get to share it with you first. As of now, we have reached approximately 80% of our campaign goal. That campaign goal is $12 million, and to have achieved that in really 10 months is something we're very excited about.
That's a big number. You've also got naming rights as well.
We do. We just the last big gift that just came in as our largest gift. This will be the name on our facility, and excited to say that it's the Stephen J. Cage Foundation Animal Wellness Center.
Wow.
So that will be the naming on our facility, along with the Humane Society for Hamilton County.
Kim, you touched on this, but you want this to be a state-of-the-art facility, kind of a nationally recognized type of facility, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. As we wrap up, this is a major step, obviously. As you look at next steps, timing, how do you see this playing out as it comes to reality?
Well, we're coming up on the anniversary in November of the launch of the campaign. Our goal is to put a shovel in the dirt come March, and then about 8 to 9 months of construction, and first quarter of 2021 moving into a new facility.
Well, a lot of participation, including some public participation, I know, in a big way in the process. Rebecca Stevens, the CEO of the Humane Society for Hamilton County, also Board Chairman Kim Ebert. Thank you both. Congratulations. We'll be following the story.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, Higher Education Commissioner Teresa Lubbers talks graduation goals, and Indiana State University gets serious about sports. But first, Pet Wellness Clinic says it is one of the first vet clinics to bring telemedicine services to the greater Indianapolis area. Teletails says it does for pets what traditional telemedicine platforms do for children at schools through virtual vet visits. Associate Veterinarian Carrie Peterson joined Kylie Valletta in the business of health.
So just a quick introduction of pet wellness clinics. Indianapolis and on the north side, about seven clinics. But why did you see a need to add this new option of basically online pet visits?
Right, so we saw the need in that it kind of adds an extra dynamic to our practice flow. It gives an extra opportunity for clients to come in and see us virtually if they're not able to come in to the clinic itself, or if they have animals that are limited as far as mobility, or animals that are anxious or have a behavioral issue and they want to reach out to us virtually. We thought that would be a great alternative for our clients.
And we talked a little bit off camera that this doesn't replace the in-person visits.
Not at all. Not at all.
But tell us a little bit about how it works. How do you do this?
So in order to use the Teletails app, the client needs to go online. They can upload the app on their smartphone or our tablet, and it's called Teletails. That app will direct you to our website or our practice group, and we'll give you a code. You'll call our clinic. We'll set up a telemedicine consult with one of our available doctors, and it's the same day, and sometimes within a half hour you can get that set up.
So folks are so busy today. Obviously, this is more convenient for the pet owner. Talk a little bit more about why this is a good scenario for some pets. Well, why this benefits the pet as well.
Yeah, so we have a lot of clients with cats that have a hard time catching their cat to even put it in the carrier to get to the veterinary practice. So for simple things like check skin issues, or if the cat is behaving strangely at home, the owners can take advantage of this app to show us videos of their behavior at home and not have to worry about stressing them and getting them into the carrier to come see us.
And you said you may see things in the home environment that behaviors they wouldn't display in the office.
Absolutely. And dog lameness issues, if they're limping, sometimes just the adrenaline and the epinephrine of coming into the clinic and being excited, oftentimes they won't show that lameness to us in the clinic. So it's really nice to kind of see them at home, and their home environment gives us an opportunity to better diagnose.
And speaking of better diagnosing, you mentioned this is better than Googling, which
yes,
every pet owner tends to do.
Yes, they do. I would recommend telemedicine and even telehealth to communicate with one of us veterinarians or technical staff before going down the trenches of Google.
But equally quick as Google, you said.
Equally as quick as Google.
So let's talk a little bit about how this could expand around the state. Obviously, you're just in central Indiana. The service is just in central Indiana. But do you think this could be expanding to other practices?
I do. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for other veterinarians. There are some veterinarians that are using this app across the country, but I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I think it's huge, and I think it's going to explode here soon.
So what has uptake been like within your practice?
It's been great. We've been doing it for 6 months. We have a lot of people that utilize it. They get excited too, as much as we do on the other end. They like the convenience of the app and keeping their pets happy at home and not having to worry about time constraints. So it's really great for them.
And we mentioned not replacing the in-person visit, but you have to have been in the office before to be able to do the Teletails.
Yes, they have to have a veterinary client-patient relationship with us. So they will have at least needed to have an exam within 12 to 18 months in order for us to diagnose and prescribe legally over the app. For folks that haven't been to our clinic, they can utilize our app for a telehealth consult. We can direct you as far as scheduling you for an appointment, letting you know if it's an emergency or if you need to get your pet in sooner, but we can't diagnose and we can't prescribe medicine for clients we've not seen yet.
All right, well, a whole new option for pet owners out there. Certainly a tale of the times.
Yes, absolutely. It's exciting.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Later in the podcast, Indiana State University doubles down on sports, and we get perspective on the top stories of the week from our panel of insiders. But now, a new report from the Indiana Commission for Higher Education shows progress in Indiana's 21st Century Scholars Program, designed to close achievement gaps. The equity report shows nearly 10,000 more students graduated high school in 2017 than in 2007, with virtually all of that growth among minority students. Commissioner for Higher Education Teresa Lubbers joined us in our Eye on Education segment.
This equity report, a number of takeaways, including the demographic changes taking place. I mentioned 10,000 more graduates from high school over a decade. Talk about your reaction to that, I guess.
Well, we know that we need to do a better job with underrepresented populations, and this is race, ethnicity, gender, geography, socioeconomic status. We look at all those areas in the equity report. We're focused as a state of having at least 60% of Hoosiers having some sort of a quality credential beyond high school by 2025. It's absolutely impossible for us to get to that place and make sure that we've really served all Hoosiers well without dealing with this issue of equity.
Socioeconomic status, about a third of all high school graduates were from low-income households in 2017. Black and Hispanic students, two of the fastest growing racial groups, most likely to come from those low-income households. What kind of challenges and opportunities does that present?
Well, one data point that concerns me a lot. In the last 5 years, we've seen 8% population drop in the African American community in college going. Mm-hmm. So while we've seen some drop overall with the population, we've seen a significant drop with the African American population. Mm-hmm. With the rural population, we see that only 1 in 5 of those who live in rural America complete college. So I think we need to look at these populations in very specific ways and figure out not only how do we help them afford higher education, but how do we have the supports in place to make sure they're successful.
Yeah. How does the 21st Century Scholars Program play into this? I know a big milestone coming up next year, the 30th anniversary of that program. Talk about the program and its impact and how it really affects some of these issues.
Well, when you look at the issues of equity and the associated achievement gap, only one population is on target to close the achievement gap, and those are 21st century scholars by 2025. So we know that it may not be a silver bullet, but we know we have a program that works, and it makes sure that students see themselves early in life as college material or ready to be prepared for life after high school. And then we use those years to prepare them, and we make sure they can financially support themselves as well. So, we found out that when they leave high school, they can't be anonymous. We need to wrap our arms around them. But the truth is, all the numbers show, I'll give you one number which is incredibly important. 86% of scholars who are accessing higher education compared to 63% of the population at large, and 59% of rural Hoosiers.
Wow. I also mentioned, you touched on it, that goal of 60% of Hoosiers having a degree or a good credential beyond high school. Can you give us an update? I mean, how do you think Indiana is in progressing toward that goal?
Well, we're at almost 44%. So when we started about 10 years ago, we were a little over 33%. What we didn't include at that point that we do now were quality certificates. So we've received some of that bump from actually counting in certificates. And we're very focused in Indiana, making sure we don't think of this just as four-year degrees or beyond. We're thinking quality credentials beyond high school. So we're moving in the right direction, but that 2025 number is a drumbeat in my head, and everybody else who's working on this goal, it's getting close, and we have a lot of work to do.
And quickly, you mentioned it too, the other piece is not just about metro areas like Indy and Fort Wayne and Evansville, but these rural communities are very important, that the education piece.
We don't want to leave any Hoosiers behind, and that means that more than ever, education beyond high school is critically important to economic opportunity.
All right, Teresa Lubbers is the commissioner of the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. Some great perspective as always, Teresa. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Still to come, our insiders weigh in on Indiana's top business stories. But first, when Indiana State University developed a master plan for its campus, it didn't include sports and athletic facilities. But that's about to change. The university has unveiled a major athletics plan, including construction of a new 8,000-seat on-campus football stadium. Director of Athletics Sherrard Clinkscales joined Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
We had you on when you first took the job. It's 4 years already over in Terre Haute, doing a great job. Thanks for being on. And for people who don't know, he's a local guy from Brebeuf and Purdue. So this master plan, Indiana State looking down the road, how did this all come about?
Well, Dr. Curtis and Diane McKee, our CFO, I told them we have to be aspirational. We have to have something that we can look at as a university, as a community that we can all strive for. And so that's kind of how it came to fruition. They supported me, and we had a group from Texas come in to put it in play.
And this sports district, I believe it's along First Avenue.
That is correct.
Right in downtown, right next to the campus in downtown Terre Haute. Let's talk first of all about football, because we mentioned in the opening, you have an off-campus facility. Now it's been there many years, Memorial Stadium. That's not out of play, but you're also looking at the possibility of a new stadium within the sports district.
Well, there's so much talk about on-campus facility, and I think everyone would like to see that. And while Memorial is a wonderful place, I think it's good to have two options to be able to show people what those look like.
You've had a new baseball facility that's
Bob Warren Field.
Yeah, Bob Warren Field is a great facility.
Right.
The softball, if that comes to fruition, would be adjacent to that.
Exactly. The softball field right now is in front of the Health and Human Services building, and to bring it over, there's land there to integrate those two, to have shared space, locker rooms, facilities. It just makes sense to be able to bring it across the street there to work with baseball.
And then a practice facility. Of course, the Sycamores play their home games now at the Holman Center, but a practice facility for basketball.
Yeah, right now our teams share the arena area, so to be able to have a practice facility for men's and women's basketball is a game changer for us.
What would this mean, again, and especially I kind of identify with the on-campus football, but what could this mean for the campus itself, Gerard?
Well, just a communal feeling. To be able to bring football on campus obviously has a lot of good things that can bring the university, the campus, the students together. But the big thing with that is just parking is just going to be a challenge. Where we at now is wonderful. The kids right now, the students take buses out there and things like that. But to bring a football campus on stadium to me would kind of be the icing on the cake for the Sycamore Athletic District.
Okay, you've got the plan. Of course, the next question would be, well, okay, you got the plan. How do you pay for it? What's kind of the vision there, Gerard?
Well, first you have to have a vision, but obviously it's going to come through philanthropic efforts and sponsorships. In the state of Indiana, we cannot use any state monies to build athletic facilities. So we're going to have to get together and put together a plan at some point in time to be able to raise the money for these facilities.
And we should mention that Holman Center, the home of the basketball Sycamores, that's been undergoing a facelift. How's that doing?
It's come along really well. We're really excited about it. We'll still be having our season there, but hopefully this time next year it'll be almost done.
Life in the Missouri Valley Conference is good?
Yeah, it's really good. Our football team right now is 3-3. We have a big game this weekend against South Dakota State, and just things are trending in the right direction.
Well, we certainly applaud your vision. The Terre Haute downtown has made significant improvements, and I think this would really add to it.
Absolutely. Again, to have an athletic district like this, to me, separates us from a lot of our peers in the conference and really sets us apart and puts us on a trajectory where we want to go to.
All right. Well, Gerard Clinksales from the athletic director at Indiana State, thanks for being on the program. Thanks for making the trip from Terre Haute. Best of luck to you.
And finally, our group of insiders offers perspective on Indiana's top business stories. This week's panel includes Vox Global Managing Director Mike Marker, Clear Object CEO John McDonald, and Hathaway Strategies President Ann Hathaway.
Our top story this week, the Waterside project in downtown Indianapolis, the $1.4 billion project at the site of the old GM stamping plant right along White River. And I should point out, first of all, you're doing some work for Ambrose Property Group. But as you look at this situation, Ambrose going a different direction business-wise. They want to kind of offload, if you will, the project. The city is saying, hey, we're threatening eminent domain to take the property back. How do you see this thing playing out, Mike?
Yeah, I think the common ground that most people have is that they want to see something positive happen on the former GM stamping plant site. The neighborhood wants to see that. And what the groups have come together with is this vision called Waterside with the community, with the owner of the site. And when Ambrose came out and announced that they were going to seek a new developer to take that site forward to completion, the city came out and essentially did what we consider to be an overreach. They talked about eminent domain and threatened that, which is both unlawful and a breach of contract if they do that. And so for viewers of your show in particular, I think if businesses can't consider that a contract is a contract, that's a real problem. But hopefully the groups can get together. Maybe the city can walk this back from what they've done, and we can get something going as opposed to litigation tying this up for years and years when what everybody really wants is this development to go forward there.
And the statement we got from the mayor's office this week seemed to indicate there was some hope, some optimism, if you will, that both sides can come together. So we'll see how that plays out. But the neighborhood, as Mike mentioned, is another piece of this, very important. There was a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement about what the project can mean for those neighborhoods in that area.
That's exactly right. We need to make sure that this gets resolved in a timely fashion so that the neighborhood has a chance to grow. There's just so much potential there. It's just a new part of the city. We need to get back to the exciting phase.
Yeah, and bringing that stuff across the freeway, across the river, a real game changer for that community in that part of Indianapolis.
Yep, and speaking of game changers, been a lot of game changers in downtown Fort Wayne as we go to the northeast corner of the state. Another big announcement this week, that downtown, Mike, and you're from that area, certainly has changed so much. Ruoff Mortgage, based in Fort Wayne, looked at a new corporate headquarters site in a number of places, I think, but picked downtown Fort Wayne. So really another validation, if you will, of what's happening there.
Yeah, I think a smart move on their part. I'm glad to see that they're going to have their headquarters there. I mean, that's a community that's really on a roll. I mean, there's a lot of momentum there. Certainly, Mayor Henry should get an awful lot of credit, and other folks have come together with the riverfront initiatives and other things there. It's a place where companies want to be. My hope is that the opportunity that seems to be next lined up there is Electric Works, and that development can happen as well. Yeah. That's a great talent attraction plan. I think that'd be great for the region too.
What do you think it is? Because you're right, there's so many things. You mentioned the riverfront, the downtown development, the potential of Electric Works, so many things going on. What's key to things happening there that maybe aren't happening in other places?
I think it's just a committed group of organizations and individuals that want to see it happen. In the region, they have this goal to reach 1 million new workers up there. Yep. It's really focused on talent attraction. They seem laser focused on it, which is working well for them.
Yep. Number of positive economic development announcements this week, in particular in Hendricks County. 2 announcements in Plainfield, 1 in Brownsburg as well, representing hundreds of jobs, some of them part-time or seasonal jobs. But John, as you look at one in particular, Ingram Micro, which is a company, a logistics, technology-focused logistics company, 6th location in Indiana. They've got about 2,000 employees now statewide.
Yeah, their presence goes back to when they acquired BrightPoint a few years ago, which, of course, is a cell phone distributor. Mm-hmm. They were bought mainly for their ability to take apart boxes and pull the pieces out and sell you the adapters separately, which you always hated when you went to the cell phone thing. Well, they kept that skill, and now about pulling things apart and old computer equipment, whatever, they're making that investment, and it's really cool to see.
As you look at a company like that, based in California, and looking at Indiana as a place where they want to invest and continue to invest, kind of says something about the business climate, perhaps.
Right, and you saw also the announcement with Radial making an investment here from a distribution perspective. We've got a really interesting little sub-economy in the tech business with Viral Launch and Supply Kick and other companies that are helping you get into the universal store, which is the internet, right? Take your product and either get it to market or get it from market, and leaning into our history in transportation and logistics now in the technology era, and it's great to see those companies taking notice of our unique capabilities here in Indiana.
So much of economic development now is about so-called quality of place, quality of life investments that communities big and small in Indiana are making. Here in Indianapolis, another example, I guess this week you could say the White River State Park breaking ground on a permanent concert venue downtown, which adds greatly to the permanent seating. I think 3,000 permanent seats, 4,500 more lawn seats. So that's a venue downtown, a pretty substantial venue.
It's a substantial venue, great draw for downtown. I think it's a great addition to make it permanent. I'm really excited the fact that it's going to be there.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when what is now Ruoff, I kept thinking Deer Creek. When that was envisioned for downtown Indianapolis, and it didn't happen, it went north. And now you've got that facility up north, and you've got a different, unique kind of venue downtown.
Yeah, I think White River State Park and the lawn are just really great assets for downtown, for the state, for that matter. You get visitors coming in there. It's great for local folks. And when you partner that venue up with the Indianapolis Zoo, the NCAA Hall of Champions, Idle-Jorg, everything that's right there, the JW, it's a really nice cluster for the region.
Can you look, and as you look at that, as Mike mentioned, those assets, arts and culture and all the amenities, can you overstate the importance of that in terms of Indianapolis's ability to attract talent?
Absolutely not, because again, we go back to your points of quality of life, quality of place, the walkability of our downtown, the proximity. It's a great place. You see it all the time with the apartment buildings, the condos continuing to be built. And it goes back to the point you made and that we all talked about with regard to the Waterside project. It just continuing to build and grow our downtown.
Yeah, John, you're in the tech space. You deal with the talent issue a lot.
I'm just excited that the next time I go see Weird Al Yankovic, Alison Krauss, I'm going to have a dry seat to sit in. But it's really, really important. Of course, we've talked about it many times before.
That's good. Actually, certainly sports is a part of those amenities. The Colts now they've got a big game this week against the Houston Texans. But when the Colts are successful, that kind of adds to the vibrancy and the vibe in downtown Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I think the vibe in downtown will be good this weekend. And you got the Colts big division game. Both teams, Texans and the Colts, beat the Chiefs recently. So these are teams that are powerhouse teams. So, and when the Colts go well, so does the city.
Yeah. And as we were talking off camera, Indy 11, they have
playoffs.
been on a roll. And are still pushing to get that stadium and are making plans for that stadium. Being a winner helps that process.
Oh, for sure it does. I think if, they can just made their point that they need a permanent stadium.
Yep. And John, we've got a minute left here, but I want to touch on this since you're up in Fishers. You talk about amenities and construction and those types of things. A lot of construction in Fishers as that continues to go on in the district, the big restaurant area.
About to open up. Our building, of course, is in the middle of a big construction zone. We had to dust off our emergency exit procedures because we're like, some of this ground hasn't been turned up in 100 years, so you never know what you're going to find, but all is well. But it's really, really exciting to be in the middle of it, and I think I have a word on a few interesting economic development announcements that are going to be coming on later this year.
Are these projects helping in that process?
We now have several of our employees that are now living in the apartments around. They walk their dogs. They take advantage of the farmers markets. Yes, boy, is it. It really makes a huge difference when we interview talent and they see the place that they're going to be working and perhaps living in. It's a big deal.
John McDonald, Ann Hathaway, Mike Marker, thank you one and all.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.